Oh gosh, it's the center of the universe, I think, right now. They're kicking off, this whole consensus for the crypto and digital asset space. I wanted to be part of it. And personally, I used to work in Hong Kong. The last time I was here was about 20 years ago. I spent about 12 years of my life in Hong Kong and Southeast Asia. So I want to come back and see what's changed. For the market, well, the market, this is a great time to be in the market because, it's solving all these problems of how these people want to have access to different investments and assets around the world. I mean, we're tokenizing a real world asset. That's the definition, but what does that mean? It means giving people around the world, a lot of people outside the U.S., the ability to invest in a U.S. asset that is stable, has good yield, and is reliable, and they trust. The next step is to adopt it. I mean, there's been a few assets, and I'll focus on what's called a fixed income asset. And so think about like U.S. Treasuries. That's been tokenized quite a bit over the last year. Well, that provides a stable yield, maybe 4.5% yield, but it's liquid and it's known, and people trust it. And so you got to go up that food chain to other assets that would be similar. And so maybe something else would be a mortgage-backed security. It's also backed by the U.S. government. It's a tacit guarantee, but provides a greater yield. You can get up to 6% yield on that type of fixed income product. And where I'm from, I'm a resident of the United States Virgin Islands. We have tax incentives, and so our fund doesn't pay the taxes that you would in the United States, almost 19% less in taxes. And so our fund would nearly 6% yield over a U.S. Treasury fund at 4.5%. And so once people see that and they want to park their money there around the world because it's stable and it's backed by the United States and you have liquidity and easy access, that's where tokenization will hit the ground. Well, I think 2 years, I hope, we just launched our first fund. And so now, I hope 2 years from now, we have several funds. And they'll be based on a lot of different types of assets in the United States. And so now you have people, the big banks will adopt it. All the Morgan Stanleys of the world, the Goldmans of the world, they'll all adopt, these digital assets that are pegged to real world assets, and they'll adopt those things. So I hope in 2 years we just have a lot more funds with a lot more adoption rate with the big financial institutions. Oh, I think the next hurdle really is just the trust, that you have these stable assets. And so people trust that, hey, if I'm going to buy into a digital asset, I'm not going to use a broker-dealer, I'm not going to use a financial institution. I'm going to go through a different pathway that maybe I'm not familiar with, but you trust that that is the asset I'm going to buy. The underlying asset is going to be a fund in a mortgage-backed security that's backed by the U.S. government. And so that's going to be the breakthrough point where people do it enough that they get used to doing it, and so they'll have forgotten that they ever needed a broker or ever needed a financial institution. They can do it directly, themselves, with a few clicks of their mouse or on their cell phone, to invest. And so that'll be the breakthrough. Yeah, the unique selling point for us, like I said, it starts with, we have folks, my partners are experts in mortgage-backed securities. Provides greater yield than the U.S. Treasury, still has the backing of the U.S. government, and we have a fund that's based in the United States Virgin Islands. So we have, like I mentioned before, better tax rates, and we can get greater yield on that. And the number one thing, though, is there's liquidity. You can redeem at any time. You can get out of the fund at any time you want to, or you can never get out. And so for tax planning purposes, usually if you buy a Treasury, you have to pay taxes on the interest you get every year, right? Well, for us, you just pay taxes once you redeem. And so you can accumulate your wealth. If you wanted to, you could do estate planning and give it to your children, maybe never pay taxes on it. So that's the completely different, fund that we have put in place.